as we wrap up with NAB 2025, obviously the big camera that is talked about there is the Blackmagic Pyxis 12K. Thank you guys once again for showing me and joining me on the live stream last Friday. Today, I want to go over some of the questions that I keep seeing pop up throughout social media about surrounding the Pyxis, such as why is there no 6K recording option? Why is there no ProRes recording option? And why do they shoot 12K? So I'm going to explain all of that, answer those questions, all that and more in today's video. What's good, everybody? James Jackson here, back again with another video. If you're new here, I do tips, tricks, news, and reviews for the film and video making industry. So if this is content that you like, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can stay up to date on all the content going forth. So let's dive into the very first question, which is, why is it shooting 12K? Why does this have such a high resolution camera? So I want to just say, I've already made a video explaining the 12K sensor that was originally in the Ursa City 12K LF that is now in the Pyxis 12K. I will leave a video over here as well as a link in the description below so you can check that video out. But today I'm going to just give a brief answer in terms of why 12K. That's a more longer technical video. The short answer is that Blackmagic wanted to have a camera or a sensor, develop a sensor that has the exact number of color channels, meaning red, green, and blue, that they can put out to put in a true proper 4K camera. Because unfortunately with Bayer pattern sensors, there's always 2 greens per pixels. So they designed this so this sensor will have exactly 4,096 red channels, 4,096 green channels, 4,096 blue channels. That gives it the ability to do the amazing things that this camera can do, which is scale in RAW without cropping in on the sensor, as well as getting higher frame rates, as well as faster readout speeds. And in order to do that, 12K is the minimum resolution you would need to get true color 4K. Again, check out the other video for a more technical answer or more technical breakdown. All right, let's move on to the next question, which is, why is there no 6K? Because a lot of people say, hey, look, I don't need 12K, obviously. I don't even need 8K. 6K is like perfect for me. Why is there no 6K option? And the short answer is for the same reason that I gave for the first answer, but more so, 6K is not a division of 4. In order for the scaling to work, each resolution or recording options that the camera provides has to be symmetrically equivalent to 12K. So the only options that doing that is 8K and 4K, which are all divisible by 4. So you see what's going on? That way it allows the camera's sensors and all the different color channels to get the same colors no matter what resolution it chooses, therefore giving that sensor scaling. Because of that, there is no 6K option. The only way that 6K would be able to be done is 1-to-1 pixel readout, which 6K from a 12K sensor would mean that you would have the size of a micro four thirds field of view versus the full frame / large format option that you would get from 12K, 8K, and 4K. So the answer for 6K is it just doesn't symmetrically scale with 12K, and it would be too small of a field of view that most people would not really use it. And the last question I kind of want to answer and address is, why is there no ProRes option? Because most people still want to, if you do some tight turnarounds, you need to just deliver. ProRes is a much more sufficient option than using Blackmagic Raw. And also, it works in all different editing platforms. So There's two answers to this, and one is more of a technical reason. The other is more of an assumption, philosophical answer in terms of Blackmagic. So let's address the first part, which is the technical part. If you remember, there's sort of the way cameras work. You have the sensor, the data that comes from the sensor, that goes to the processor works his magic, puts it in a case, and then it goes into a container like ProRes. So ProRes is a post-processing codec. The problem with that is the same problem why it's always been an issue with Bayer pattern sensors to do what Blackmagic is doing here. And that is the fact that you can't do sensor scaling like this. It would limit the capabilities of what the cameras can do. For example, if you were to try to do oversampling with ProRes in 8K or 4K, you would essentially be limited to the frame rates as well as the readout speed options of the 12K sensor or the 12K resolution. So instead of being able to shoot 72 frames a second in open gate in 8K or 4K, you would be limited to 40 frames a second in open gate, because that is the exact same of what the 12K. So because that's, again, it's already processed and then it's downsampled. Versus Blackmagic Raw, because Blackmagic Raw does partial debayering at the sensor level, it does a lot of that processing before it actually hits the processor. So kind of think of it as sort of, with Blackmagic Raw, the camera can trick itself into thinking it's a lower resolution camera than it actually is. So that's why 8K and 4K can get these higher frame rates and even pretty good readout speeds. Versus if they went with ProRes, you would not be given the options that you would be able to do here. And also the files would still be significantly larger than Blackmagic Raw, because ProRes is it's a very process intensive codec. It takes up a lot of data. So while yes, it can help with tight turnarounds, it also creates significantly larger storage space than even of Blackmagic Raw. 4K ProRes could be something to do, but again, either A, you would be limited to frame rates and options like that, or they would have to do some form of line skipping or pixel binning, which would degrade the quality of what you would get compared to Blackmagic Raw. And this is a good sort of segment into more of the I guess, philosophical answer. Again, while Blackmagic hasn't really said anything definitive regarding ProRes, I want to make sure I understand that the things they have said have indicated that they're pretty much moving away from ProRes in their cameras. You'll still be able to get it in something like the video assists, but in terms of in-camera codec options, I just don't see them offering that, simply because ProRes is a less efficient codec than Blackmagic Raw, especially with something like the 12K camera. It's not efficient at working with DaVinci Resolve as Blackmagic Raw is, and it also takes a good amount of processing power versus Blackmagic Raw. So overall, Blackmagic Raw is just a much more efficient codec. It works natively in their entire ecosystem, whether if it's with their video assist, whether if it's with DaVinci Resolve and all the features that it works, it just works natively well, whereas ProRes really brings up hindrance in terms of the ecosystem or workflow. And these are things Blackmagic has stated, but again, they haven't stated that they're not going to do ProRes, but all signs point to that they're not going to probably involve ProRes anymore with their cameras going forth. I know for a lot of people that's going to be a shame. Me, I look at it as I can always transcode things to ProRes, and especially on these new M4 Max, it doesn't really take that long to do that, and then I can deliver this stuff, deliver those files via Waitress. Now, obviously, determining the scale of the production, this is not necessarily efficient, which means these cameras may not be necessarily the best options in terms of workflows. But we shall see. Again, we also didn't think Blackmagic would ever put autofocus in a Blackmagic camera, but they have. So anything is possible. So if there's enough people making a fuss about it, I'm sure Blackmagic will in some future put it into a camera. Maybe not an RGB sensor camera, so they can fully take advantage of it. Maybe if they do another Bayer pattern sensor or use another Bayer pattern sensor that from maybe get it from Sony or something, then they'll probably put ProRes in that. But in terms of their own RGBW sensors, I just don't see them using that. Anyways, these are my answers to the Blackmagic questions involving the Pyxis. I would love to know what you guys think on each one of these. Leave your comments down below. And as always, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, take care, everyone.